Scott Russell, I'm going to talk a little, maybe personal, about kids. I'm the father, the blessed father of 8 children, all to the one lady. She's no longer in my life. I'm alone, and I wanted to. Well, you're never alone, but that journey has been for 3 years now, and a lot of my children were affected by that, and the fact that things didn't go normal. And I remember at the start of this, there was no logic, there was no reasons, there was no action that brought about the demise of the family. It was really a spiritual difference. One wanted freedom, another wanted control, and another wanted freedom, but they wanted to control to get the freedom, and it doesn't work that way. And I'm, without going into that, I just wanted to say that when some of my children went on their journey, I was faced with, how do I have a connection? How do I keep my children in my life? And they vary in ages from 7 to 25 years of age, and each one was unique and different. And I felt early on in the piece that it was very important where this world was going, that the best gift I can give my children is spiritual identity. And I can't give them that. I can just stay out of the way so they can find that. And be there as a support. Live in the cracks, I like to say. So one of my sons, live in the cracks. And find there's always something, not to control, but just to say, hey, I'm here. I'm here. And some of us, our children have taken their own path in life, which is a good thing, but it's very easy as a parent to get our identity wrapped up in our children, to think that we're a good parent or a bad parent. And often it's the insecurity in us that we need to be needed. We don't realize how precious we are. And as a parent, you are precious, but your identity is not your children. Your identity is who you are in God, who you are in yourself, your spiritual journey. So I just felt that as this world was going rapidly towards what I believe is the mark of the beast, I kind of felt like that God impression inside of me, that movement, which I say God speaking to me. It's not words like he's sitting talking, but it's that movement, right, that we put the words on. That movement was saying to me, Scott, your children need their own identity, otherwise they'll take the mark of the beast. The way the world's going, if they cannot stand on their own 2 feet, they'll fall. They won't choose freedom, they'll choose the mark of the beast, because the pressure of the society around them to conform, the pressure to go with the flow will be immense. The coercion, as we've seen with the last few years, but that's going to be ramped up, because the Bible says you won't be able to buy or sell without the mark of the beast. So you come into a world now where you can't buy your groceries and walk into a grocery store without a facial recognition or something that's going to give you permission to be there. How are you going to live apart from that system without some intestinal fortitude, without some spiritual strength? It's incredible. And over the last 20 years, and my children have grown up watching as God has shaped that in our lives, and we've lived pretty much with no visible means of income for that 20 years, seeing creative acts of community. That's been very disturbing at times, but it's put something in my children. And so one of my sons, my second oldest, Daniel, he was he's a very strong personality, and maybe got a bit of his dad in him. And he took a detour, and we had no contact for 3 years. I really knew nothing of his life. A little bit filtered through, but it was not happening. But I just felt like God was saying he's going to get his own identity. He has to find and stand in that identity and strength. So if you're not there, he can stand as his own man. And as some of you have seen from other videos maybe, just in the last 3 days, he reached out and reconnected. His girlfriend that's with him, Mael, is just phenomenal. The spiritual connection of all of us has been very beautiful, and I've spent endless hours on the phone to my son. And so you can only talk about what you've earned the right to talk about. And I want to use Daniel as a bit of an example, and he wouldn't mind me doing that, Daniel and myself, to encourage you with your children. Maybe your child is on the other side of the world, they're estranged from you, they're somewhere coming into this Christmas season not close to you. And that's tough. I know, I'm living it. I've lived it the last 2 or 3 years. Last Christmas Day, I walked alone on the lake. And I could have given into the rejection of that and the depression of that, but by the grace of my God, I didn't. And I want to say it's important that each of us as parents gets our spiritual identity, and we allow that to happen in our children. Because, like I've said, the way the world is going, if they can't stand on their own 2 feet, they're going to fall and be part of a antichrist, mark of the beast system that will define and dictate to them what they should and shouldn't do. But they need to see the strength in you and know that it's okay, that the love is unconditional. So Daniel came back into my life, and I'm in awe of him. He's walked ahead of me in many ways, in areas. I mean, obviously I have experience in life and been around a bit longer, but some of the perception of the spiritual, he is he has walked ahead of me, is an inspiration to me. And I feel like he left a boy, he came back a spiritual man, and we now see eye to eye. And I feel like if I was to die today, he would carry the baton spiritually to where that needs to go out with the rest of his siblings. Now, that being said, some of his other siblings are in phenomenal good places too with me now, and I praise God for their lives. But I just want to unwrap Daniel, because he was one that was estranged for many years. We were estranged from each other, and when he came back, it was beautiful. And it was what I felt God was laying on me to say, they will have their own identity. And without knowing that, he said to me, Dad, I walked alone because I have to be able to stand on my own 2 feet for what's coming, basically. And I believe all of my, he said, I believe my brothers and sisters are on that same path. They all have a purpose to play in this end times, and they need to be able to stand on their own 2 feet. And he died in Lisbon. The circumstances around that are irrelevant, but he died. He was in hospital. While he was dead, he had a after-death experience, really, of God coming to him in a demonic realm that was around him. That he could see the demons and darkness, and the light came to him and said, I'm summarizing, but basically gave him a choice and said, you can live in the darkness, or you can come back and serve me. And God said to him in that time, when you come back, the mark of the beast is coming in a World War III. He said, people are going to have a choice. They can either serve the mark of the beast and serve the beast, take the mark of the beast and serve that system, or they can choose freedom. And he said, and God was saying to Daniel, I want you to choose. Well, it's up to you what you choose, but he said, I want, if you come back, you will help people, reveal freedom in them, and you will walk in freedom and help people to walk in freedom so they don't take the mark. And as Daniel's come back, I can't wait to get to Portugal. We're talking about that. He's He's even, Dad, I'll buy you a ticket. And I was like, wow, I mean, it's like I said, I mean, he's someone that's come back a man. I mean, I'm not saying he will, but just the offer has been amazing. And I'm more than happy to do that myself. But to have that, I want to encourage you with your children. As these times are coming that are going to be so difficult, the natural temptation is to want to bring them closer and control, because when fear comes, control comes. When we feel fear, we want to bring people around us that we care about in our world and lock it down to protect it and be this fortress. You can't do it, because everything this system and the mark of the beast will bring is designed to penetrate that, to break that, and to tear apart, divide and conquer. So right now, you need to look at, firstly, yourself, the fear that's in you as a parent, and say, you know what, I need to deal with that in myself, and connect spiritually and say, God, I surrender my control to you. Jesus, help me to flow in life, in me. And that begins when you realize you're loved. You're loved by your Creator. You're not loved because of anything you've done or don't do. You're loved unconditionally for no reason. You look at your life and you go, well, I've failed here, I've done wrong here, I could have done better here. No, you have not failed. I remember when my children first, a lot of them I had no contact with, some of them for 3 years, some of them I haven't had contact with still for over 3 years, because I've had to just let them take their path and be here. And I felt like God said, Scott, you're not a failure as a parent. And I was like, what? And they're gone from my life. And I felt like he said, well, what happened to mankind? And I was like, he said, I'm the perfect father, and I let you all go. And you all made mistakes, and you all did things that you thought were going to help you. Excuse me, and they didn't. And I felt like God was saying to me in that movement inside of me, he was saying, look, all-encompassing love. He said, he said, when I let mankind go, Adam and Eve, he said, I knew that was going to happen. They had to have their own identity so that they could come back and be one with me. And by surrendering that identity, they're still individuals, but they're also part of a bigger thing. And so I think for me, that really helped me. I realized naturally we see ourselves as failures when things don't go the way maybe Hollywood has dictated a happy family looks like. But I'm thrilled. I'm watching my sons and my daughters be men and women of their own identity, and they're coming back for fellowship. And we do that with God. I did life my way. I added God to my life. And when I need God, I'll use him. I never made him my life. But God loved me so much, he let that go. He let me go, because he knew full well I had to have my identity to surrender it and be one with him. To me, that's marriage, when people marry spiritually God. And so I've seen that spiritual unification with another one of my children. And I know whenever it comes, this man has such resolve spiritually that he found himself that he won't come under a mark of the beast. And prepare your children. Prepare your children. Let them go. Like God let us go. He let us go so we could return. And another thing that blessed me about that, which might be a side thought for somebody here, was when a child's in your life, they just give you unconditional love. Your mum, your dad, they love you until maybe even when you make mistakes, they just keep loving you. But when the world comes and that's abused and they're torn away from you in some way and told that, don't love that person, don't be near them, don't be near dad, for instance, they can be betrayed by a voice and follow that. And now what happens is they're in a wilderness. Then in that wilderness, they have to make a decision. do I love Dad? And I've made very sure in this time that I've never done things to earn their love. So like at Christmas time, for instance, I didn't shower them in gifts because that's not love. I would have them come over and take them shopping for a gift. Or I would take them and say, like this year I've said, look, if you come for Christmas, we're going to do something together. The money we would have bought gifts with, what would you like to do? One of them been talking about parachuting. Well, I would do that with him as a Christmas present because it's intimacy. It's saying, I am with you. And others, I'm like, maybe we can go, I don't know, one wanted to go and play pool. Well, let's play pool together. That's the Christmas present. It's not a gift under a tree. It's the essence of who I am, being with the essence of who you are, intimacy. That's moving forward in my life since this disaster that's been a blessing, the breakdown of the family. Everyone that's coming to my life and everything that's coming to my life is coming out of a relationship, not what I can do for them or they can do for me. There may be aspects of people doing, there always will be, naturally, we do things for each other. But that unification of the heart that looks and just says, I love you for no reason. Just the fragrance of who you are. That aroma of who you are smells good to me. It's just beautiful, and I need to be around that. Funny, there's people, I can think of someone that I can sort of smell that spiritual aroma from their life and look at it and go, wow, that's wonderful. I don't know what the future holds with that, but it's wonderful. And often the other person feels insecure or not worthy or scared of that. The beautiful thing about smells are you can't really control them, good or bad, sometimes, and they're just there. And I would say in my life, I'm allowing the essence of people, the aroma of people to come and just be the beauty of life, and that's happening with my children. And the other beautiful thing that changed in that, as that happens, is you start to realize people are, when they're not in my life for what they can do or not do for me, they're in my life because of that fragrance. I then have unconditional love for them because no matter what they've done, no matter where they've been, no matter what they've said, no matter what there's a fragrance about them of unconditional love. And when you smell the fragrance, nothing else matters. And that essence of people, and that's true love. That's what will carry through into the future. That's what these globalists can't take. So my son Daniel, we're hoping for Tuesday, Lisbon time. We're going to do a live on Instagram because Facebook's got me shadow banned. Join us. It'll be recorded, I'm sure, and we'll share that out. But we're just going to fellowship online, and some of you folks can enter that because I think it's going to bring encouragement to you that your children are in a safe place. Don't control it. Enjoy their fragrance and let them smell your fragrance of peace, and it will draw you together. And Daniel and I are restored because his girlfriend Riley, she stumbled on a video on the Global Freedom Movement of me talking, and she just was like, I am one with your father's spirit, Daniel. She said, I think he's hurting and he could do with you in his life. And Daniel said, it's funny, I've been feeling I needed to reconnect with Dad, and we did, and it's just been phenomenal. I feel like he's not, it's a very odd feeling because it goes beyond having a son. I'm not fathering him. I'm fellowshipping with him. We're just there, and it's a beautiful thing. He's ready for a mark of the beast, not to take it, but to stand strong in freedom and to lead many others out of darkness and into the light. And do that with your kids. Do that with yourself. Fellowship with those of like spirit. And that's all we can bring to the world. Yeah. Hey, you're loved. You're loved. He's the love of God has you here, the fragrance of God, the unconditional fragrance of love. That even when we don't deserve it, we don't feel worthy, we don't feel adequate, we can't control or influence that love. You're loved. And that fragrance is in us. It brings a love for each other. And that's what I call church. The freedom spirit. It's a church, a Holy Ghost church. Because he loves you and I'm in his fragrance. And so are you. I love you, you love me. We don't do love, we are love. And so let's prepare our kids for what's coming by preparing ourselves, letting go and just being there to encourage where needed and fellowshipping where needed and allowing our kids to shift from being children to being spiritual entities of their own with identity. And I have a 7-year-old right up to 25-year-old, and I can tell you each one is on that path in a different way, and some of them are back in complete spiritual unity of their own identity, saying, I don't need you, Dad, I just love you. I love the fragrance of Dad. I want to be near you, but I don't need you. And that's beautiful. I love that they're not coming for what I can do. They're coming because they love me. You're loved. God bless you.